So this video is really late, but back in May I got the amazing opportunity to attend the Cannes Film Festival. I saw a ton of movies, consumed far too many croissants and espressos for one human, and had the experience of a lifetime. I was there in this palace of cinema for over the period of a week or so, and it was so overwhelming and enlightening. It has been a forever dream of mine, and I'm sure of any cinephiles, to attend this festival, and it lived up to almost every single one of my expectations. Even though it's already August and we're about to enter the fall film festival season, I still wanted to share some of my personal highlights from the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. An American filmmaker directing a movie about the making of Breathless really could have ended up as a complete disaster, the type of film booed right out of Cannes. And yet, Richard Linklater's Nouvelle Vague ended up being one of the most fun, rapturously received screenings I attended during the entire festival. The film is more or less a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Jean-Luc Godard's seminal French classic, with an ensemble of characters that include, of course, Godard himself, François Truffaut, Jean-Pierre Melville, Roberto Rossellini, among many other recognizable cinematic icons. Nouvelle Vague is such a snappy, light watch that ended up being less of a typical biopic and was instead just another classic Linklater hangout film, this time with a bunch of French cinema legends instead of stoners and college bros. Netflix has unfortunately picked this one up, so who knows what kind of theatrical release it will receive. So I feel fortunate to have seen this in a massive theater in the south of France with a bunch of film freaks who treated each new appearance of yet another cinematic maestro as if we were all watching Avengers Endgame. Following the breakout success of I'm Still Here last year, we now have its genre cinema-inflected companion piece with critic-turned-filmmaker Kleber Mendoka Filho's The Secret Agent, that in its own ways tells of the grueling experience of a family dealing with the disappearance of their father in 1970s Brazil. Winner of both the Best Director and Best Actor prizes at the festival, the film, like most of Filho's work, is set in his native Recife. Divided into three parts that oscillate between past and future, this is a tale of corruption and greed taking place amidst Carnival Week, as the terrific Wagner Moura attempts to reunite with his son while hitmen are right on his tail. This is a vibrant and sweaty film that exudes and is informed by a pure-hearted love for the movies. There are callbacks and odes to classic films like The Omen and Jaws here, and some visual inspirations from filmmakers like Brian De Palma with the use of split diopter shots and split screens. It's also heavily informed by Brazil's history, its culture, people, and stories that make this film feel so alive. I think Aquarius remains my personal favorite of Filho's work, but I cannot wait to see the larger response this film receives once Neon puts it out in theaters later this year. In an uncertain regards section with 3 movies from actor-directors, it was Harris Dickinson's Urchin that ended up being the very best of the bunch. Dickinson's heavily Ken Loach and Safdie brothers inspired slice of British social realism is about the trials and tribulations of an outcast and rough sleeper in London, who is trying to turn his life around while the structures in place around him leave him at an impasse. The film is observed from a significant distance, with many scenes shot with long lenses from across streets that lend the film a true-to-life observational quality. The lead performance from Frank Delane was one of the very best at the festival, a naturalistic, charming, and devastating turn that fortunately strays far away from the many drug-addicted acting cliches. He beautifully fronts this work of gritty urban realism, remaining frustrating and unpredictable and commanding our attention at every moment. Urchin is a true showcase for Dickinson's sharp directorial instincts that puts his very empathetic gaze on full display, reintroducing us to him as not just a formidable young actor, who has already worked with some of the industry's most interesting voices, but as a filmmaker himself with an interesting voice that shows true promise. Another highlight from the Uncertain Regards sidebar was Harry Lighton's debut feature, Pillion, a BDSM biker rom-com of sorts led by Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling. This is a funny, heartfelt, and surprisingly moving film about love, kink, and discovering oneself, with Lighton using the world of gay submissive bikers as a vehicle to explore this kindling romance between Melling's gentle, timid young man and Skarsgård's ice-cold, domineering biker. This is a film entirely unafraid to show us the messiest, most awkward aspects of a BDSM relationship, not once shying away from the strangest or most erotic moments. It's a film that humanizes individuals and kinks that are oftentimes used purely for shock value, or as the butt of jokes in movies. But Lighton mines real deep, emotional complexities from them, for a story about a submissive who is desperately searching for a connection beyond the physical. Melling and Skarsgård have terrific chemistry here and are asked to take part in many emotionally and physically vulnerable scenes, each one nailing their respective roles, Melling as the heart and soul, and Skarsgård as the seductive man of few words. Pillion has all the humor, sex, and leather you could ask for, but I think this one is really going to surprise people with its unabashed tenderness, and I hope A24 realizes the special kind of film they have on their hands, and give it the release it deserves. Hilnir Pálmason follows up Godland, his film about the grandeur of 19th century Iceland, with the truly unexpected but wonderful contemporary family dramedy, The Love That Remains. Pálmason trades in the austere, somber vision of his homeland from his previous efforts into something that definitely retains that frigid visual splendor, but morphs it around something more light and comedic around the edges, but one that is just as entrenched in the beauty of the natural world as its predecessors. The film is an almost mood-based snapshot of a family, presenting a series of vignettes of family life, as children scamper around Icelandic farmlands and their parents navigate a divorce on the periphery. Pálmason's film is punctuated by moments of surrealism and dark humor that contrast nicely with the many montages of his staggeringly beautiful surroundings. Like most of Pálmason's work, time is this major echoing force across the film, as this fractured family unit is constantly trying to figure out where to go from here, as time continues to march on, and the landscapes around them shift as the seasons come and go. The Love That Remains is a love letter to the things we too often take for granted in life, family and the beauty of the world around us. It was so clearly a personal, creatively fulfilling project for Pálmason, and I had a really lovely time sinking into his world. This is truly cinema that feeds the soul. Ari Aster's 2020 period piece and farce western Eddington was kind of the surprise of the festival for me. What initially I wanted to brush off as an exercise for a privileged filmmaker to capitalize off the trauma of the past 5 years actually ended up winning me over in the end. Aster pulls zero punches with his hysterical and unexpectedly empathetic rip of America as it stands today. He uses the fictional town of Eddington, New Mexico as a microcosm for the ever-increasing divide between the left and the right, with Joaquin Phoenix's sheriff and Pedro Pascal's mayor standing in to show just how polarized we've become. For a large chunk, the film is mostly made up of conflicts we saw in our own day-to-day lives. Standard mask antagonism, Facebook conspiracy junk, BLM and George Floyd protests, and COVID misinformation. But steadily, the film descends into an indulgent but also wildly entertaining cacophony of absurdity that had me rolling in my seat. Aster rather smartly uses things like the 6-foot social distancing rule as a way of creating his own riff on the Western and Old West standoffs. Just instead of shootouts with revolvers, we get Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok posts that take people down. Since its theatrical release, Eddington has stirred up endlessly insufferable debate and discourse, some quick to admonish it for maybe playing it too safe and both sidesing it, and others for thinking it's being grossly irresponsible, all in the way Aster puts in his sights both performative politics and rampant, almost farcical barbarity. But I feel like this is also what's been missing from contemporary cinema recently, something that gets everyone up in arms and debating about the range of contentious talking points presented here. It was funny to watch this in a giant theater with a bunch of viewers who weren't American, because the humor just didn't hit like it hit here. Masha Shalinsky's Sound of Falling is a haunting, kaleidoscopic chronicle of death, memory, and detachment, as we trace, across 100 years, these 4 generations of women who are born, live, and then die on a German farm. Shalinsky's film is constructed as if it was half remembered and suspended in time. Vignettes are presented out of order, all tangled up, and the viewer can then piece them together and try to make sense of their chronology as best as you can. But this abstraction and ambiguity doesn't take away anything from the pure affect and aching subjectivity of its filmmaking, that, at least to me, closely resembles the work of Carlos Regadas and Terrence Malick, 2 of my very favorite filmmakers. The ghostly, dreamlike rhythms lulling you into a spell that is as mesmerizing as it is haunting. It's a really challenging film to watch and to talk about, one that's power comes from its images and sonic landscapes that I'm struggling to convey into words. But Sound of Falling somehow puts to film the idea that our lives are shaped by everything and everyone that came before us, specifically in how the unspoken weight of grief and trauma passed down from generation to generation molds us into the individuals we become. The film exists within a liminal space that only very few filmmakers have been able to accomplish, and for Masha Shalinsky to do it in only her sophomore feature is just mind-boggling to me. The latest film by German auteur Christian Petzold, Mirrors No. 3, has been quickly disregarded by many as minor, or feeling like it's just another Petzold film, and I find that couldn't be farther from the truth. Sure, it's him playing the hits with that trademark ambiguity and interpersonal drama you've come to expect from his work, but why dramatically switch up a formula that works and is always beguiling and beautiful? Textbook Petzold should be complimentary, not derogatory. Mirrors has yet another fairy tale premise for Petzold, in which a family of 3 take in a young woman who has mysteriously survived a gruesome car crash, completely unscathed. While the car accident itself occurs off-screen, Petzold does show us the tension-filled encounters that precede it, dropping us right in the middle of a road trip in which a woman and her boyfriend are bickering, him blaming her for ruining his big weekend getaway, which is then abruptly interrupted by this violent crash. This marks the setup for Mirrors No. 3, Petzold's 4th collaboration with actress Paula Beer, his now muse that he first directed back in 2018's Transit. While Mirrors isn't their finest work together per se, Beer's screen presence is as luminous as ever, a tragic, beautiful turn that nicely complements the little mysteries that fill out the film. Because this is, like many Petzold films that have come before it, an enigma, one where every little piece might not come together so neatly, but as a whole it's so mesmerizing to experience. His dense, complicated thematic logic, married with that simple form and narrative that you can truly only get with one of his films. Its 86-minute runtime is so brisk yet packed with mystery and surprise. It's really unfortunate this got relegated to the director's Fortnite section, because this was one of the strongest films in the entire selection. I guess you could say minor Petzold for some is major for others. Bar none, my most anticipated film entering the festival was Lynne Ramsay's Die My Love. This is her first film since You Were Never Really Here back in 2017, and carries some hefty star power in Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. And it didn't disappoint one bit. This is a grueling, dizzying, and primal film about motherhood and marriage, following Lawrence's grace as she navigates postpartum depression, sexual frustrations, and a relocation to a ragged country home. I have no problem in saying that this is career best work from Jennifer Lawrence, who delivers an empathetic portrayal of a woman under the influence that allows the film to feel less like empty miserableism and more like an honest depiction of a woman who feels suffocated and steadily comes undone. The film bears a lot of resemblance to Ramsay's own Morven Caller, not only thematically, but in the way music and sound design play such a central role in the film, with her eclectic soundtrack and intricate soundscapes that help reflect the splintered state of mind of our protagonist. You can really feel the ferocious energy just blazing off the screen at every moment, almost as if Ramsay, like Grace, found herself stuck, not given the proper vehicle to express herself. But with Die My Love, Ramsay has found that canvas, and she violently paints on it. As this is a movie that hurls you towards some of the most punishing, anguished aspects of the human psyche, without a single ounce of restraint, placing you directly inside the tortured headspace of this character and never relenting. Lynne Ramsay continues to show us why she is one of our finest filmmakers, and her mastery of subjectivity is on full display here. While she might not make films as often as I'd like, it just makes every single new one feel even more special. I cannot wait to revisit this film and talk to people about its many bold choices, and Jennifer Lawrence's damn near Jenna Rollins level of performance. I think we're going to be talking about this film for a long time. As the opening of Oliver Lax's new film informs us, the title SIRAT is an Arabic word, which refers to a bridge wherein souls must cross from our world to paradise. A bridge as thin as a strand of hair and sharp as the sharpest knife or sword, which is gloriously misleading in ways I cannot wait to see how more audiences react to. Because this shocking film was one of the very best things I saw at Cannes. Coming off the interminably slow Fire Will Come, I was not expecting Lax to make a raving, pulsating road trip to hell, very loosely about a father searching for his missing daughter across the North African desert. And that's all I want to say plot-wise, because you are not prepared for this one bit. Whatever you may think this film is, it's not that at all. Because as we traverse deeper into the desert and spend more time with this diverse troupe of characters, the plot begins to become illusory. The bones of what little narrative there was becomes nothing more than a spiritual odyssey of human survival. It's mesmerizing, bleak, and tragically funny, with a thumping techno score that plays across most of the film, and stunning desert photography from Mauro Hirsch. Like many have stated before, the film is like the slow-burning, drug-infused rave version of Mad Max Fury Road. It's a really reductive way of describing such a special movie, but one that I just hope draws more people in and gets them wanting to see this truly transportive piece of cinema.